Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are looking at Canto 4, Chapter 9, verses 10, 11, and 12. All right, so starting with verse 10, this is Dhruva Maharaj speaking. My Lord, the transcendental bliss derived from meditating upon your lotus feet or hearing about your glories from pure devotees is so unlimited that it is far beyond the stage of Brahmananda, wherein one thinks himself merged in the impersonal Brahman as one with the Supreme. Since Brahmananda is also defeated by the transcendental bliss derived from devotional service, then what to speak of the temporary blissfulness of elevating oneself to the heavenly planets, which is ended by the separating sword of time. Although one may be elevated to the heavenly planets, he falls down again in due course of time. All right, verse 11, Dhruva Maharaj continued. O unlimited Lord, kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly, as the waves of a river constantly flow. Such transcendental devotees are completely situated in an uncontaminated state of life. By the process of devotional service, I shall surely be able to cross the nascent ocean of material existence, which is filled with the waves of blazing fire-like dangers. It will be very easy for me, for I am becoming mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastimes, which are eternally existent. And going on to verse 12. O Lord, who have a lotus navel, if a person happens to associate with a devotee whose heart always hankers after your lotus feet, seeking always their fragrance, he is never attached to the material body or in a bodily relationship to offspring, friends, home, wealth, and wife, which are very, very dear to materialistic persons. Indeed, he does not care for them. All right, so we're going to go back to verse 11 to focus on for today's class. Bhakti muhu pravahatam tvayi me prasango bhuyadananta mahatam mamala shayanam yenan jashorpanam uru vyasanam bhavabdim neshe bhavad guna katam ratapannamataha. Translation. Dhruva Maharaj continued, O unlimited Lord, kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly, as the waves of a river constantly flow. Such transcendental devotees are completely situated in an uncontaminated state of life. By the process of devotional service, I shall surely be able to cross the nascent ocean of material existence, which is filled with the waves of blazing fire-like dangers. It will be very easy for me, for I am becoming mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastimes, which are eternally existent. Purport. The significant point in Dhruva Maharaj's statement is that he wanted the association of pure devotees. Transcendental devotional service cannot be complete and cannot be relishable without the association of devotees. We have therefore established the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Anyone who is trying to be aloof from this Krishna conscious society and yet engage in Krishna consciousness is living in a great hallucination, for this is not possible. From this statement by Dhruva Maharaj, it is clear that unless one is associated with devotees, his devotional service does not mature. It does not become distinct from material activities. The Lord says, Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarnarasayana. Bhagavatam 3:25-25. Only in the association of pure devotees can the words of Lord Krishna be fully potent and relishable to the heart and the ear. Dhruva Maharaj explicitly wanted the association of devotees. That association in devotional activities is just like the waves of an incessantly flowing river. In our Krishna consciousness society, we have full engagement 24 hours a day. Every moment of our time is always busily engaged in the service of the Lord. This is called the incessant flow of devotional service. A Mayavadi philosopher may question us. You may be very happy in the association of devotees, but what is your plan for crossing over the ocean of material existence? Dhruva Maharaj's answer is that it is not very difficult. He clearly says that this ocean can be crossed very easily if one simply becomes mad to hear the glories of the Lord. Bhavad Guna Katha. For anyone who persistently engages in hearing the topics of the Lord from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, or Chaitanya Charitamrita, and who is actually addicted to this process, just as one becomes addicted to intoxicants, it is very easy to cross the nescience of material existence. The ocean of material nescience is compared to a blazing fire, but to a devotee, this blazing fire is insignificant because he is completely absorbed in devotional service. Although the material world is blazing fire, to a devotee, it appears full of pleasure. Vishwam Purna Sukhayate. The purport of this statement by Dhruva Maharaj is that devotional service in the association of devotees is the cause of the development of further devotional service. By devotional service only is one elevated to the transcendental planet Goloka Vrindavan. And there is only devotional service, for the activities of devotional service, both in this world and in the spiritual world, are one and the same. Devotional service does not change. The example of a mango could be given here. If one gets an unripe mango, it is still a mango, and when it is ripe, it remains the same mango, but it has become more tasteful and relishable. Similarly, there is devotional service performed according to the direction of the spiritual master and the injunctions and regulative principles of Shastra. And there is devotional service in the spiritual world, rendered directly in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But they are both the same. There is no change. The difference is that one stage is unripe and the other is ripe and more relishable. It is possible to mature in devotional service only in the association of devotees. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Swaparantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sometimes we think of the devotees as being our spiritual family, and there are many reasons for this, but I think one of those reasons is that while we love them and we appreciate them, they can also drive us a little crazy. And we have that feeling of, I can't live with them. But as this purport is pointing out here, we actually can't live without them. I just wanted to kind of go back to this purport for a second to just pull out a couple of these points that are here in the first paragraph and also in the last paragraph because they're just so poignant. In the purport, in this first paragraph, it says, the significant point in Dhruva Maharaj's statement is that he wanted the association of pure devotees. Transcendental devotional service cannot be complete and cannot be relishable without the association of devotees. So that's pretty serious. Not only can we not mature in our bhakti, but we can't even really fully enjoy it. It doesn't have taste unless we are having association with devotees. And then in this last paragraph here, Srila Prabhupada takes this point even further. The purport of this statement by Dhruva Maharaj is that devotional service in the association of devotees is the cause of the development of further devotional service. By devotional service only is one elevated to the transcendental planet, Goloka Vrindavan. And there also there is only devotional service, for the activities of devotional service, both in this world and the spiritual world, are one and the same. Devotional service does not change. So if we look at that in reverse, there is only devotional service. And that's one of the unique things about it, the transcendental qualities, is that devotional service is not a means to an end. Devotional service is the means and it's the end. It's the avideya and it's the prayojana, which is very unique because there's virtually nothing else that's like that. And what the point is here is that everything that we do in this world is really our training for the spiritual world. Because what we're doing here will eventually be the same as what we do when we get to the spiritual world. And we can only perfect what we're doing here if we have the proper association. So it's like this, he's drawing this, he's dotting these, or what would you say, connecting the dots between these points, that there is a direct correlation between these things. And at the root of that is having proper association. So I really wanted to get into this topic today about association and really what it is and why it is so important that we have proper association, and why it is that we can't mature in spiritual life without it. So this is not necessarily an exhaustive list. This is just sort of based on my understanding and my realization over the years. So the first reason why it is so important is that there is a vast gap between Jnana and Vigyan, between understanding the philosophy and understanding how to apply it. And this is, the point is I'm bringing out that it's very vast. There's this gap there that is there. That's almost a trap. It's very easy for us to get lost in that place between understanding and realization. And I feel like this is where most people become bewildered, because the philosophy, of course, it can get very esoteric and very very specific, very detailed, but the basic philosophy is very, very simple. It's in actually carrying it out that we can get bewildered. We're confused about how to apply, what it even means to apply, what that looks like, and what is appropriate for a situation. So when we are associating with other devotees, we get to see other people who are on the same path, maybe many of them are in a similar situation that we're in their lives, or maybe they were in that similar situation. It gives us more faith that it is possible to apply this. And it also gives us more insight into how to apply. We can see successful examples of what has worked for other people, and we can begin to understand how it's relevant to our own lives and how we might also practice in those ways. Another reason it is so important is that we are social creatures. If anything, this pandemic has taught us, it's that we can't stay away from each other. And we always seek out association no matter what. It doesn't even matter how introverted we are or what our nature is, we will seek out association somewhere. And we know that we become colored by that association. We take on the characteristics, the qualities, the values, the thought processes, the according to who we are associating with. So if we are in association with people that have similar values and similar goals of a spiritual nature, then it's easier to maintain those as we move forward. Also, we require support. There is no such thing as a self-made man or woman, although people, of course, love to say that, call themselves, it's a badge of honor to call yourself self-made. But we know that that's not true. Everyone requires support of some variety, whether it's just encouragement or it's, practical help, or maybe there's some mental or emotional or physical deficiency that needs to be overcome, and there's support needed in that. Everybody needs support, so we can't feel like we're in this completely on our own. And then the other thing is accountability. Accountability is really important for us, I think, especially in this age where words seem to not be worth very much. Often we say we're going to do things and we don't do them. And while it's not necessarily a situation when you're associating with devotees of it's not like there's a pressure or you're not going to be punished if you're not living up to the values or the way that you say you're going to live. It creates a sort of social dynamic where in some level it gives you the opportunity to share with others what you're trying to do, and then the opportunity to live up to that. So I think that really helps us. And we take this back to Dhruva Maharaj, and we can see that association was everything for him when he set out on his path. First of all, he had the association of his mother, who is a great devotee, who's very surrendered, very wise woman. This situation that she's in is not dissimilar from the situation that Dhruva's in. Dhruva is very disturbed by the situation. And while we can understand that it's a difficult and painful situation for his mother, she's able to transcend that and to see the situation for what it is, and to not lose sight of that bigger picture. And because of that, she's able to direct him. And then, of course, he has the association of a Mahajan, of Narada Muni, who is ostensibly his spiritual master. And Narada Muni, it gives him specific instructions, which he's able to carry out, and he carries them out perfectly. And without these two individuals in his life, without their association, not only would he never have set out on this path, even if he did, he would not have been successful. This was really the secret to his success and his advancement. So Prabhupada brings up in the purport that that Dhruva Maharaj is looking for the association of pure devotees. And this is one of those points that has often bewildered devotees. We get kind of fixated in, especially when we're thinking about, well, who will be my spiritual master? We get into this, like, well, is this person a pure devotee? And how do I know? And what if they're not? Then what happens to me? And this is a point that Prabhupada addressed elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, where he says that, I'm paraphrasing, but basically if a person is following the process strictly and that they have sincerity, then the only thing that's separating them from being a Paramahamsa is the time factor. It's really just a matter of time. So we don't need to get sucked down that rabbit hole of like trying to figure out someone else's consciousness. If we could simply ask the pertinent questions, which are, is this person more advanced than me? Is this person sincere? Is this person following the recommended process? That is, good enough to be able to take their association and to benefit from it. So there's actually 3 types of association. That's more specifically related to the association of seniors. I'm sure everyone is familiar with this, but of course, our association is going to be a mix of juniors, of peers, and seniors. And it's important to have all 3 because each of those relationships gives us something unique. So this peer relationship is what's going to make up the bulk of our association, like what we're doing now. And I think it's one of the things that I really appreciate about this group is that it's very specifically for peers, and it just makes the relationship it makes the relationships very clear, so that when we come together, it's in this mood of just sharing, of equal exchange, of revealing our hearts and minds, of just listening, of offering support. We're just offering our perspectives, our experiences, our realizations. It's not that I'm here to teach you. It's just that we're here to share with one another. And for that reason, it works really well. But of course, the relationships with juniors and seniors, although they're going to be to a lesser extent in our overall association, they're also very important. They play an important role. So when we're dealing with juniors, we want to think of it that we're giving our association, and we are guiding them. We are offering philosophical understanding. We're illuminating the scriptural teachings. We are giving encouragement. And because we are giving, we may not think that there is much in it for us, but if we dig a little deeper into that experience, we can see that actually we do benefit from it. First of all, it is actually our duty to give our association to juniors. So we are fulfilling that spiritual function. Also, if you have experience in this area, or you are close with someone who deals in this area a lot, one of the things you can realize is that most people who you're giving guidance to don't necessarily listen, and they might pick and choose what you say, or they may not apply, or they may just straight up ignore what you tell them and do the opposite. And it gives us an opportunity to cultivate detachment, which is very important in this role. So, oh, and another thing is that when we're in that position of guiding and instructing, it's a way to hold a mirror up for ourselves to recognize, am I actually living up to these things that I'm preaching, or am I being hypocritical? And I find for myself, it allows me to go deeper into these areas and see these holes in my own spiritual development, and then start to take those things more seriously, so that I can seriously say with integrity that these are the things that you need to do, because I am practicing them. And then in terms of seniors, of course, there's the Bhagavad Gita verse, Tadvidi Pratipanena Pariprashnena Sevaya, that there's two aspects to dealing with seniors. There's the inquiry and there's offering service. And those have to go hand in hand. It's just part of the exchange. And of course, there's, opportunity to connect one-on-one with seniors and, have conversations with them about application of the philosophy and how to relate these things in our lives, but just having the opportunity to listen to lectures as well. And we also, we don't want to be that type that just listens and then ignores, right? We want to actually try to implement to the best of our ability what they're asking of us. And we actually have the opportunity to associate with Srila Prabhupada directly. It's something we often feel that we've missed out on as being younger devotees who weren't here when Prabhupada was here, but it is actually an opportunity that we can take advantage of simply by reading his books. And this is actually primarily the way that Dhruva Maharaj made advancement. He's a 5-year-old, right? He doesn't have a lot of juniors, and actually even amongst his own peer group, he is essentially peerless because he's so advanced. His reputation is far and wide because he is so exceptional. But by associating with seniors, he's able to make incredible advancement in a very short period of time. So as I've been reflecting on these points for the past few days, I've been meditating on this idea of my spiritual life is dependent upon how I relate to other devotees. And that in itself is huge. And I was thinking about the implications of that for our society. Like, what if everyone interacted with devotees and in every interaction was thinking, my spiritual life depends on how I am interrelating with this person. It could completely transform our society. We could actually have the society that Srila Prabhupada envisioned for us, and it could change everything. So this is what I got from this meditation, and this is really what I am trying to live out in my life on a much deeper level now. So thank you for being here and for listening.